Want to see this video and more like it uncensored? Follow me on Patreon. The link is in the description. Meet Ethan Couch. When he was 16, he was involved in a driving incident while under the influence, resulting in 4 fatalities.
Wheel of his pickup truck and plowed down 4 people in a drunken haze.
Meet Taymore McIntyre, better known as Tay K. Also at 16, he was involved in a robbery that tragically left 1 person deceased.
Question him about his role in a deadly home invasion in Mansfield.
It's also well known that he wasn't the shooter in the incident. Ethan Couch was raised rich, while Tay K was just a foster kid with a hard life. Their sentences were worlds apart. One received 55 years in prison,
as a judge announced his 55-year prison sentence for the murder of Ethan Walker,
while the other initially walked free.
Agreed, and gave Couch 10 years probation. Plus,
Tay K is probably one of the only artists in history to have a top 50 hit on Billboard and never ever get to perform it. Tay K experienced a rapid and controversial rise to fame amidst serious legal troubles.
Goes by the name Tay K 47 in his online rap videos.
And while he became a fan favorite and one of the hottest rappers out, his story became a complex narrative of youth, rebellion, and the stark consequences of action.
About this young man, he didn't blame nobody for his fault. When he had fallen down at the hog pen, he said, "Ah, help me."
This is the story of Tay K. Tay K was born Taymore McIntyre, June 16, 2000 in Long Beach, California. His early life and childhood would start off rough, as both parents were documented gang members.
My mama the one that got me on that shit. My mama baby in St. Crib, Eastside, Long Beach.
When Tay K was just a kid, his father would become incarcerated, forcing his mother to move him and his sister to Las Vegas.
We stayed in Las Vegas. That's where we were in foster.
For a kid, constant relocation and lack of stability can be deeply traumatic, often leading to feelings of insecurity and disconnection. And that would be just the beginning for instability for Tay K. After his father's incarceration, Tay K's mother moved them to Las Vegas.
We lived in Las Vegas for like a year and a half,
where more instability and trauma would take place for Tay K. It was so bad, in fact, that his mother lost custody of him and his sister in Las Vegas.
No. So we were in Las Vegas when our mom lost custody of us. Our dad was...
Tay K and his sister became foster kids, going from home to home. According to a study by Concordia St. Paul University, children in foster care are at significant risk of experiencing trauma. It's estimated that up to 90% of children in foster care have been exposed to traumatic events, leading to serious and long-lasting effects. The trauma experienced by these children can lead to various behavioral issues, further impacting their well-being and development. Tay K's life would take another turn when his father was released from prison and given custody of the kids.
He got custody of us, and that's when we moved to Texas. So we were...
Tay K and his sister would move to Arlington, Texas, in an attempt to move his kids to a new surrounding and a better life.
So that's when we moved to Arlington, East Arlington. We were staying over there.
And while that sounds promising, the location wasn't a solution to their troubles at all. Tay K and his sister faced a challenging home environment, lacking support and enduring
a bad situation. It was in the home, in our home,
This led to them running away due to the in the home being that bad. Their mother, unable to provide for them either, never regained custody of them, leaving Tay K and his sister to fend for themselves, something 2 teenagers their age should not have had to do.
Parents, they can't really, do nothing for me.
The Annie E. Casey Foundation notes that about 20,000 youth exit foster care each year in the United States and have to fend for themselves. This situation leads to lifelong consequences, with these youth more likely to engage in risky behavior and experience hardships like homelessness, joblessness. Tay K would now be on his own, having to completely support himself.
As in getting money, buying myself clothes, finding somewhere to live, stuff like that.
He went from house to house, place to place, often being with different groups of people. Tay K was determined in this period of time, and he would begin to rap, make new friends, and ultimately make his name. Tay K would ultimately be all over the place, doing everything he can to survive. However, one plot to come up on some cash will ultimately be the biggest for him. forever. You plan to take your girlfriend out on a date because her birthday is July 25th. However, she shows up with 2 other girls, which originally you think nothing of. Your homie and close friend is there, so it's all good. You let them in and you lock the door because you've been taken down before, so you real paranoid about it. You take the girls in your homie's room, y'all blaze up, but something's off, although everything seems just fine. Your girl is acting weird. In fact, she goes to the kitchen 3 times in 20 minutes to get water. The next thing you know, 3 masked men enter the house, where at some point one person is unalived and the other is injured. That's how the story went, according to a surviving victim. Ultimately, everybody involved in that case was arrested, and some, due to their age, were tried as adults, while others, including Tay K, who was underage at the time. Now, let's highlight the central figures, the young women, who played a decisive role in this act. It was they who orchestrated the entry of the gunman into the home, a move that set the stage for a tragic outcome. This act, the facilitation of entry, is often considered in military strategy as the most critical phase in any operation, the point where success or failure of a mission hangs in the balance. And so one could argue that this element, the breach of a secure threshold, carries the weight of culpability in the eyes of both law and tactical doctrine. Put simply, under the law and in the military, that's the most important part of an operation like this. When Tay K got placed on house arrest because he was still just a kid, his own sister, who was just 18, had to step up as his legal guardian. Imagine that for a second. Your sister, barely out of high school herself, now in charge of you.
He got released to me. I had my apartment. I was 18.
That's just some of the reality that Tay K faced. Before everything went down, Tay K was already in the Arlington DFW rap scene. But after he got put on house arrest, he didn't stop. He started dropping tracks right from his living room. And what's wild is some of the tracks that changed his life are some of the ones he recorded right there in that spot. Tay K was setting his role until a couple days before it was time to show up in court. Tay K had gone on the run. A complete manhunt ensued and everything.
U.S. Marshals are looking for a North Texas man wanted for shooting.
Now, let's go back to the study. Trauma in childhood, particularly for those in foster care, as detailed it in Concordia St. Paul's Trauma in Children Foster Care study, can lead to a tendency to avoid problems as a coping mechanism. These children often experience significant trauma, impacting their cognitive, emotional, and behavioral health. This can manifest as a pattern of fleeing challenging situations, a protective strategy to avoid re-traumatization or perceived threats. Now remember, this could have been explained to the same Tarrant County court that apparently understood that Ethan Couch was raised too rich to understand that underage drinking, operating a vehicle, and ultimately shortening the lives of 4 people was wrong to do. Either way, he would still be seen posting on social media and ultimately dropping his claim to fame, the hit song, The Race. The Race features Tay K vibing to a track at some sort of residential house with a pool in the backyard. Here's the reason I believe this video went so viral. There's a scene from the video with him in front of his own wanted poster. The video quickly rose up in views. It even peaked number 44 on the Billboard chart, which currently holds the title as the biggest song from the Texas New Wave. Tay K was on to another level of stardom. Until
McIntyre has been arrested in New Jersey by the U.S. Marshal Service.
Tay K was caught in New Jersey and extradited to Tarrant County Jail, where he will remain until trial. Rappers from the industry would start to reach out, and he would start doing interviews on bigger platforms from behind the walls.
Crazy. So, but I mean, I related to that line, and I think a lot of kids.
Even pictures of him would surface from the cell. However, Tay K would eventually be sentenced to 55 years and sent to prison.
Guilty of the offense of aggravated robbery as charged in count 2 of it.
Tay K would eventually be sentenced to 55 years and sent to prison.
Rapper Tay K will not be able to run from a now 55-year prison sentence.
The 2 girls involved weren't the ones who pulled the trigger, yet when sentencing came down, they received significantly less times. And it raises questions, right? How the system evaluates each person's role and dishes out justice. It's complex, and for many, it doesn't always add up. The unnamed girl in the case got her sentence overturned to just 10 years probation. Ironically, That's the same deal Ethan Couch got in the so-called affluenza team. The same system that he belonged to as a child, he now belongs to as an adult, meaning the system failed him big time. The American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry highlights that the adolescent brain continues to mature well into early adulthood. During this period, the frontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and decision making, is still developing. This impacts how teenagers act, solve problems, and make decisions, often leading to them act impulsively and misinterpret social cues. Understanding this developmental stage is crucial when considering the actions and responsibilities of young people like Tay K, and their decision-making abilities are still evolving during these formative years. And when you add to that the foster care and childhood trauma, and you have the reason Tay K literally knew no other choice but to be there, and ultimately the reason why Tay K did the race.